What's up, y'all? It's your boy Breaking Bad Boxing here, and I got a guest. I got my boy Big Sam MMA here from Twitter. My man is a purple belt in jiu-jitsu, so he actually knows what he's talking about. Lifelong MMA fan, and he's a sharp bettor too as well. Big Sam, you want to give an introduction? Let us know about yourself, so on and so forth, mate.
Yeah, sure. Hey, everybody. My name's Sam. Pretty active on Twitter. Not as much in the content creation space, but have a big passion for MMA. Have gotten more into boxing here in recent years, beyond just watching the big cards that are on every now and then. But yeah, really happy to join the show and talk some shop. So looking forward to it.
Hell yeah, bro. I appreciate you coming on, man. I wanted to do this new concept that I've been thinking about here for the channel is 5-star bets that I'd like to do weekly. Essentially, 5-star bets for y'all. What I would like to do is I would like to give our most confident bets of the weekend. Clearly, the most confident play being a 5-star play and our least confident being a 1-star play. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go back and forth, chop it up, riff off each other, and we're going to go back and forth. What's your 1-star bet to my 1-star bet? I'm actually, I'm curious to see if we have any overlap too in bets that we like. It's a great combat sports weekend, man, all across the board from boxing, MMA, bare knuckle boxing, LFA. You just have everything on board this weekend. It's going to be absolutely incredible. Super excited. We even have one championship for tomorrow. So with that being said,
the Friday morning card that they do.
Yeah. So dude, I love watching one championship. I'm going to be honest, I'm very casual when it comes to Muay Thai, when it comes to kickboxing, but I love watching and learning about these kind of things. Like watching Luke the Chef versus Nico Carrillo last Friday night was just an absolute war.
Such a good fight, man. Such a good fight. And it's, I think a lot of Muay Thai purists will hate on Muay Thai with the small gloves like that, because there is there's not a lot of defensive tools you're able to use. And man, that fight was crazy though. Bad matchup for
big gloves make a world of difference when it comes to striking. The big gloves make a world of difference.
I think that fight in particular probably looks a little different if they're wearing the big gloves, because when Carrillo gets you on the back foot and he's wearing MMA gloves and he starts ripping combinations, that's a bad day for anybody.
Especially since he likes to rip shots through the guard. So there's not the big 10 padded ounce gloves where he can't rip through that guard or rip underneath the guard. So it just makes all for the wild, man. So, but yeah, man, I'm excited to talk some bets. I have faith. This is going to be one of my most lucrative weekends just because the tape has been cracked. The numbers have been input. I'm just confident, man. I'm overly confident. And I feel like this 5-star rating kind of gives me a chance to go through my favorite bets of the weekend and give myself an idea of what I like best and what I like worse. So we're going to start off with you, Sam. What is your first bet of the weekend, your 1-star rating bet, your least confident bet that you'll be playing this weekend?
Sure. So this is on the UFC Qatar, I believe is where it's at. So UFC Qatar card, and this is looking at Alex Perez versus Asu Almabayev. And bet that I have for that fight is Alex Perez money line, and that's going to be on BetMGM. I don't have the line pulled up on that right now. Believe it was around that plus 165 range.
I actually saw it. I was just going to say it's actually at 165, 160 or 165 when I last saw it, actually, because I was scrolling through MGM.
Yep. And, when it comes to that pick, when it comes to Alex Perez, if you're doing a star ranked bet, he's going to be your 1-star guy. He has all the tools in the world and has the tools, I think, to win this fight. But sometimes he can fold on himself. But in this matchup specifically, Asu Almabayev, I think, is going to be chasing the takedown. I think in the clinch, Alex Perez has a lot of tools to do damage like he was doing in the Tatsuro Taira fight in his last one. Uppercuts from the clinch, hooks in the clinch, and Taira was landing those knees. But, I think Perez is really going to be able to dictate the pace in this fight, defend the takedowns, and, in the fights that he loses, he's usually getting submitted. But it's not... He's not routinely getting his back taken and getting subbed with rear naked chokes. It's, a guillotine choke versus Figueiredo or an all-out brawl versus Pantoja. And these are two of the best guys ever in the flyweight division. I'd say probably number 2 and number 3 all time in that division behind Mighty Mouse. But, yeah, I think it's a pick'em fight the way that I line it. And, yeah, I think Alex Perez is the side.
I think that's a great bet, man. I think Alex Perez looked really good in that first round against Taira before the injury, as we know. And we know Alex Perez, he only loses to the best guys. That's just a fact of the matter. Strength of schedule absolutely matters. I also think Asu doesn't have a lot of finishing upside. I don't think he has a lot of finishing upside. I don't think he's necessarily great with his ground and pound. I don't think he transitions to submissions very well. He has that little bit of a gamrot to his game, in my opinion. Not a lot of great control, but going and kind of coming back and forth. You know, a lot of takedowns, a lot of volume of takedowns, but I don't think he has great control or great submission. So I love that for a 1-star bet, man. Good plus money, plus 160 on a fight that you rate as pick'em and a 1-star bet. It's as beautiful. And you're going with an older cat as your 1-star bet, which I love too. My boy Kiza, my guy Luke Riley, finally fighting in the UFC. Yeah, I think it's tough to trust these Cage Warrior guys, but I think he's getting set up with a squash match. So I agree. So
you think so on that one? Is that one of your 5?
No, absolutely not. The line's not even worth it, in my opinion, too. All of my bets here are going to be pretty much value bets, I like to think. But my first 1-star bet is actually from UFC Qatar, and it's actually in the main event. Arman Sarukian by sub, plus 360 on FanDuel. So I think Arman Sarukian here has a clear path to victory in this case here. Take down Arman Sarukian, out-grapple him, use your strength advantage. And this is the big thing, is we haven't seen Arman get a single sub in the UFC. Realistically, he hasn't had a sub in almost 6 years, 7 years, something of that nature. But we've been seeing him do a lot of grappling against a lot of pretty decent grapplers. Patricky Pitbull, Benson Henderson. I forget the actual grappler that he grappled a few weeks, like about 7 or 8 months ago too as well. I think Arman has the pace and the pressure advantage in this case here. I think standing on the feet too, I think it's more of a 50-50 fight than it is leaning towards Dan Hooker. I don't think Dan Hooker's striking is all as polished as everyone seems. I think in the clinch, I think Arman Sarukian is going to hurt him and damage him. And I eventually see Arman Sarukian getting some powerful mat returns, eventually working to a top position, maybe advancing to half mount. We saw all the advances he did against Matt Favola years ago, right? I see this fight playing out very similarly. Him advancing position and eventually drowning Dan Hooker. And I think him getting a sub on Dan Hooker. Dan Hooker has lost 3 times via sub. Granted, it's been a while since he's lost via sub, besides the Islam Kimura, I believe it was. Granted, Islam's a beast. But Arman's strong as shit, good pace, good pressure. And I think his best path to victory in this case would be a submission. So for my 1-star bet, give me Arman Sarukian plus 360 submission FanDuel. What is your 2-star bet, mate?
Well, do you care if I comment on that one really quick?
Oh, no, please. Always, mate. Always. And just so you know, you can always jump in and let me know any of your thoughts.
Cool. Yeah. So I think that's a great bet. You know, I have a similar one coming up in my number 3 spot on the same fight. But Arman Sarukian, I think he's doing a lot of the right things with his career right now. I think so many guys who come from a wrestling background, especially, he's not American, of course, but especially a lot of American wrestlers, they'll come in with a wrestling background and they're able to get takedowns, and maybe they're landing ground and pound, but the submission threat isn't always something that's there. And I think that's one of the biggest differences you see from guys from the Caucasus region. So when you're talking about Islam, Khabib, even when you're talking about other guys who are, you know, maybe not wrestle first fighters like a Shavkat, they all have a significant submission threat in all of their fights. And you can tell that Arman's really been working to, you know, make that a real weapon in his game. Great ground and pound as well, and I think you can use that to set it up. So that's a great pick.
That's another thing I didn't even mention, is that he can use the ground and pound to actually open up submissions. And that's the one thing about Arman, is he does get ground and pound off. His elbows are nasty, man. From the ground position, from the clinch position. I just think Arman's the overall better fighter. If you want to be safe on it, Arman inside the distance is minus 135 right now on FanDuel. At minus 135, that could be a smash spot for you big bettors. Me personally, I really love the sub, and I'm going to play a unit on it. So, and then, yeah, man, I like your thoughts on it, man. I didn't even think about the ground and pound opening up the submission to even mention that.
Yeah, and you know, we'll get to it, but that was my number 3 pick, was actually on FanDuel minus 135, Arman inside the distance, just because I think that he's going to put a real pace on Dan Hooker, and I think that pace is going to open up opportunities maybe for a sub, but I could see Dan Hooker covering up and then the ref stopping that fight.
100%. And I can see Dan Hooker getting damaged in the clinch too. That's one thing. I think Arman has a huge advantage when they clinch up and they get in the inside pocket style of fighting. So what's your 2nd-star bet of the day?
So my 2nd-star bet of the day, another UFC fight. I only have 1 boxing bet that's on the card. I figured you'd have more on the boxing side than I would.
I got 3. My honestly 3-star, 4-star, and 5-star, all boxing bets. So my boxing fans, don't even worry. I got y'all.
Awesome. Yeah, my 5-star bet's boxing, but we'll get to that. But this one's on Volkan Ozdemir versus Alonzo Menafield. You know, when looking at the tape for that fight, 2 big hitters, 2 guys who, you know, have gone the distance in their past couple fights. You have Menafield coming off a decision win versus Umar Sy, and then versus Julius Walker. And then Ozdemir, I was watching the tape on him earlier. I can't remember who his last fight was. But I have this fight to end by knockout, and the best line I saw on that was -130 on FanDuel. I think when you look at a lot of both of their past fights, so when guys go against Ozdemir, so you're looking Nikita Krylov, somebody who's wrestling him relentlessly, trying to get him to the ground. That's a back and forth fight in round one where both of them are starting hot. You have Paul Craig, where if he, if there's not the threat where Volkan doesn't want to follow up on the ground because he's worried about those jiu-jitsu positions, triangles, arm bars off his back, he finishes that fight too. Volkan, he's not the fastest guy, but when it comes to boxing for MMA, he's got a functional jab, works the body well, and especially when he starts to put guys on the back foot, he's doing real damage. I don't see Menafield shooting for takedowns. I see him wanting to strike in this fight as well. And especially early on, he's got huge power. And I see somebody going out in this fight. I think if you're looking for a plus money bet, fight ends inside round one, I think is around +180 is what I saw.
I actually really love that bet here. So you had Ozdemir, who actually, I just remembered he had those devastating knockouts over Walker and Gustav. I think his last fight was Carlos Ulberg, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
That's right. He lost on points in that fight, and he subbed Guskov is what it was. He opened it up by hurting him on the feet, but it was this, Guskov.
That's what it was. He did sub him, but he did hurt him on the feet. I'm not tripping about that, right? He hit him with the straight left down the pipe.
Hurt him with the straight left down the pipe.
Okay.
He was working him with ground and pound, and he had him to where he was flattened out with both hooks in. He's covered up, and he took the choke. I think it's probably his only first or second sub in his career so far.
I also think with Menafield, he has a tendency to gas in the later rounds. He didn't look bad against his last fight against, was it Sai? But the thing about Sai is I don't think he has that much finishing upside past round one. I think he's a rounder one bust kind of fighter, and that was just perfect for Alonzo Menafield. Someone's going to be diving garbage takedowns to your hips, and Alonzo Menafield, as we know, shit brick house hips, bro. Imagine trying to single leg that guy. It's just not going to happen, mate. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, he hips into you, and that's going to be really tough. You saw Ozdemir do that a lot against Paul Craig. I think he's really heavy, and he's a lot for guys to take down in that first stage, of takedown defense. If you get a wrestler like DC when you win against him, and he starts chaining takedowns together and keeps you off balance the whole time, the takedowns start to come a little bit easier. But man, I don't think this one touches the ground. I think somebody's going to sleep and going to sleep early.
Yeah, I think I kind of tend to agree with you. And I think that play at the round one play is a nice little sprinkle and stab. Hans History Volt, hope you're doing well, my brother. Let me just really quickly just answer this question here from my boy Hans History Volt. Fernandez is in Spain, in his hometown. He's coming off a fight that necessarily wasn't great for his look, in my personal opinion, with the disqualification and things of that nature. I think Fernandez is going to work the body early and often. I don't necessarily agree with the line, but I do agree with you that I think it's a bad stylistic matchup for Casamonica. I think Fernandez works the body early and often, puts the pressure and the pace specifically. And I think in Spain, which is one thing that no one seems to be talking about in this fight, Fernandez in Spain, I agree 100% with you. I'm on that. I wouldn't personally touch it unless I'm parlaying it. But even then, my style, -300 is a little bit too steep for me. So my apologies about that, Big Sam. I didn't want to leave my man hanging here.
That fight I'm actually not familiar with at all, so I'm glad you took that one.
Yeah. So John Fernandez, he's a Spaniard fighter, man. He's actually pretty good. He had a great win over Pyotr Petrov, who is an older Russian fighter that's highly respected in the boxing game. One of those older kind of gatekeeper kind of names. And he had a pretty rough DQ win in his last one, where it was a bunch of ref stoppages for low blows after him rocking his opponent. It was just all kind of bad. He should have got a stoppage win in that one, but it went on as a DQ win because of low blows. Really, as Nunes, the fighter he was fighting, he didn't want to fight anymore. Now I'm just ranting about boxing, so my apologies. What's the odds on Waldo Kiza? It's -142 on DraftKings and -135 on FanDuel.
That must have moved a little bit. I thought he was like -160 earlier today. So
when I was just researching this just before, because that was one of the fights that I was looking at was Waldo, and I couldn't get behind it at that line. But it was -142 on DraftKings. I'm pulling up DraftKings Sportsbook right now to make sure that I am not misspeaking.
I don't have that in my 5. What do you think about that fight?
So let's just talk about that real quick. I think it comes down to, realistically, is what type of shape is Waldo in? Does he kind of implement that low volume jab, low calf kick game plan? Does he keep, and one thing about Waldo is he is pretty defensively sound. We saw that in the Pavlovich fight is he took some shots, but not as many shots as, you would think against someone that's as good of a boxer as Sergey Pavlovich. I think Waldo should be the favorite, but taking the fight on three days notice, flying across the country. He trains in Arizona. He's flying from fucking Arizona to Qatar, mate. How do you take a minus 142 on someone, a heavyweight, on 3 days notice? That off rips is a fade bet for me. Fade fight all day. What are your thoughts on it?
I think that if he had a full camp, you'd have to say that Waldo's the side. I think
easy
staying on the feet. He's the guy who's, granted, we haven't seen Shamil Gaziev get stopped with strikes in the sense that, where he's getting put out. I think he had the corner stoppage in the Rosenstruik fight, but I think the jab of Waldo can give him problems. But man, the thing is at heavyweight is I tend to think that Gaziev's going to wrestle here. And with a guy that big is on top of you, it's a lot harder to work out of that. It's some of these guys, they play this deep half guard like a Marcin Tybura, to where he's able to create these scrambles and reverse position. But I think if Gaziev forces takedowns here, he's going to have a lot of success. It all just depends on where both of their gas tanks are at. Because I think both these guys have, not Waldo as much, but with the short camp, I think both guys could gas out. But I don't know. It's a close fight.
I honestly don't think Gaziev's gas tank is as bad as he may look, to be honest. This is one thing I've noticed is that he at least pushes through and fights through positions. And that's a big thing to me is like he'll push through and fight through positions even when he's gassed. So it's just a very much a fade fight for me, man. Maybe a watch live spot because maybe Waldo wins the first round, but he looks like he's starting to slow down a little bit. My boy Kiza thinks Waldo's going to jab his way to a win. I could 100% see it. Jab, low kick his way to a win. 100%, especially with Javier Torres in his camp, man. Javier Torres, he runs the ultimate combat training here in Arizona. UKT, former MMA lab product, former Bellator fighter, pretty good grappler in his own right, but he loves implementing his fighters with the jab, low kick game plan. And that's a game plan that could work here. Keep your distance, strong hips, jab, low kick. Still wouldn't touch this fight. Heavyweight on short notice? No, sir. I didn't watch the Samuel Molina fight, by the way, too, as well for the John Fernandez fight. I will go and rewatch that here. What did you think about that fight, Hans History Bolt? You think he beat Samuel Molina? That's one I didn't actually find tape on. I'm pretty sure it's on Daily Motion, though. I just realized I haven't even gotten to my 2-star bet yet. This is what I love having someone on the page for, bro. We get to actually just kind of chop it up and make it a more natural conversation than just a script of bets.
And I will say, last point on that, the Gaziev versus Acosta fight, something we haven't mentioned yet, is when it comes to scorecards, and when it's in this part of the world, you always get some funny scorecards.
Carlos Leal is the biggest example anyone on planet Earth will name. Carlos Leal, like, come on, champ.
Oh, Fakhratinov versus him. I mean, that one didn't even make sense. Like, you watch that fight, that's a pretty clear 29-28. Not even really that close.
I had over 4. Oh, so I had 2 units pre on Leal and I had 2 units live on Leal. When I say I was pissed, like I'm telling you, there's just some things that just irk you the wrong way. And when a clear robbery happens, that's the worst in MMA, man. It's the worst in boxing too, because it happens in boxing all the time.
Yeah. And I scored Spivak beating Acosta in his last fight. I thought that was 29-28 his direction. So I don't know. Maybe he's due for being on the wrong end of one of those decisions, but we'll see. That's a tough fight to call.
Waldo has like one of those very weird resumes, right? Like you look at it, beating a bunch of old dudes, beating a bunch of slow plotters, beat a bunch of dudes in the UFC that were going to get cut the next fight, but he beat them. So it's like, yeah, he's 6-1 or 7-1 in the UFC, but realistically, outside of the Ante Deja fight, which I've never even been that high on Ante, especially from his PFL days.
How weird. That's another one where the refereeing on that doesn't really make sense because, he got poked in the eye, but then you essentially let Dillia stop the fight with strikes. And then you break it up and say that there was an eye poke. I didn't really understand that. That should have been a stoppage, I thought.
We've had way too much of that lately. Way too much of that lately. Look at, was it Jake Matthews, Neil Magny? You have this. What fight was it not long ago where it was just last week, I think it was, where
Ravola versus Kyle Nelson is probably the fight that we're thinking of.
Yeah, because
he's getting hammer fisted and
round 1.
Yeah. Oh, and I was on Nelson to win by knockout in round 1 in that fight. And you watch it, they don't even sound the horn because he stopped it with 3 seconds to go. And then he's like, "Oh yeah, I think it was Miragliotta." He's like, "Yeah, I thought I heard the horn, so I just stopped the fight." It's like, what do you mean you thought you heard the horn? You're in the apex, I'm pretty sure. There's like hardly anybody there.
It's literal malpractice. It is literal malpractice. So, all right. So now let's wrap on to, I just realized, let's back to round 2. So 2-star bet. I want you to know your thoughts on this bet too, because it's my last MMA bet of the day. My 2-star bet, Jack Hermanson money line, plus 210, ESPN bet, and a sneaky little stab. I know I'm kind of cheating here. FanDuel has Jack Hermanson 1 takedown at plus 130. I love this play for a few different reasons. Jack Hermanson is willing to poke and move on the back foot. He's going to be the naturally bigger guy coming down from 185. He looks shredded as shit. Jack Hermanson's never, ever had cardio issues, and him having to drop down to the weight, I think is going to be great for his cardio and not a deterrent for his cardio. He's going to be able to take the shots from a smaller dude, and Orobai is someone that's, and this could have been because of his shitty weight cuts, is always slowed down in the back end of the fights. Always slows down in the back end of the fights. Orobai himself takes damage. We've seen Jack Hermanson get, I mean, look at the Dolidze fight. Looked really good against Dolidze before he got taken down. Jared Cannonier, he won round 1 against Jared Cannonier, taking down the beast himself. I know this is years ago and ages ago, but these are just little things that I'm putting into consideration. I don't think Orobai's chain wrestling is all that great. I think Jack Hermanson's chain defensive wrestling is great. I think his scrambling positions, his willingness to use everything from unorthodox underhooks, butterfly sweeps. He literally uses the whole jiu-jitsu arsenal without trying to be Craig Jones and laying on his back. I love Hermanson's grappling, man. Like, I think it's pretty damn high level, and he'll even transition to leg locks, not only to attack, but like what he did to Kelvin Gastelum, but to also transitions and getting up. So me, I love Jack Hermanson at plus 210 money line, ESPN bet, and a sprinkle on Jack Hermanson 1 takedown when Orobai is gassed out round 3. Don't be surprised when he blast doubles that man and secures round 3 in a 1-1 fight. Love Jack Hermanson. Even as a 2-star bet, I love Jack Hermanson at this number, coming down in weight against someone that Orobai's good and tough, but never been overly high on his skills. What is your thoughts on that bet?
You know, I actually almost put that exact same fight, but I think I saw you tweet about it earlier.
Yeah, I was talking about my boy Big Steve, because I was listening to him earlier, and he said this fight's dog or pass for him. And for me, I don't even think it's like dog. I don't think it's a quote unquote dog or pass. I love Jack here. Like, I literally love the spot. I love the number. I would play Jack all the way up to plus 140. That's kind of where I put this fight, is kind of how you have Perez and Asu, a little bit more even money fight. I think Jack should barely be a dog here, man. And you're giving me plus 210. I mean, come on.
You know, I think in a lot of ways, those are similar kinds of fights where, you know, besides the weight discrepancy, but I think the narrative for a lot of fans is that Perez is somebody who's taken a lot of damage. His body's not what it used to be, and he's on the way out. And I think that's what, you know, a lot of people are saying about Hermanson. You know, obviously he's coming off the really bad knockout loss versus RoboCop in his last fight. But, I mean, we're talking about 2 completely different sized humans here. RoboCop is an absolute monster to be at 185.
Look who he gets finished by. He gets finished by fucking Jared Cannonier, the Killer Gorilla, who, by the way,
heavyweight.
I'm a diehard Killer Gorilla guy. Arizona boy. Love his story. Love his reverse weight cut. He's the fucking shit. Dude, he gets finished by real killers, and he could fight like he did against Chris Curtis in this fight and frustrate the shit out of Orobai and win this fight easily, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think Hermanson has such a great fight IQ, and this man, he's fighting heavy hitters. Joe Pyfer, Jared Cannonier, RoboCop, and granted, he's not winning all these fights. Thiago Santos back in the day, but these are all guys who are, you know, 205ers, heavyweight. Like, you know, I bet on Jared Cannonier against Jack Hermanson, you know, five or so years ago at this point, maybe more. But man, if he makes the weight, okay. If it's, you know, it depends where his chin is at, maybe, but I think that he's going to be able to stay on the outside, control the fight with his jab. Orobai hasn't really been tested at this level versus another big guy who can really grapple and do it for 3 rounds. Raubeski, somebody who gets tired pretty consistently.
Gas bag. By definition, Raubeski is a 2-round or bust kind of fighter. I mean, maybe except for his last fight against Ludovic.
Yeah, and there's not really if he's not dominating the fight from a physical standpoint, that's a guy who usually struggles. And Hermansson's not that. A lot of his fights at higher weight classes, Shabazian even, he's going against these guys who have such a physical advantage against him or such better athletes, faster, but he's got such a good fight IQ, fights his fight, and then later, rounds 2 and 3 is really when he starts to get his game plan over. He fought to a split decision. Granted, it should have been unanimous against Sean Strickland as well. So I think Orolbai hasn't been tested in the same kind of way. Maybe he comes in as the fresher guy. I think he's 10 years younger, 27 versus 37. But at plus 200, I completely get the shot on Jack Hermansson there.
100%, bro. Hey, Luis, I appreciate that. Do me a solid, Luis. Let me know your Cash App or however you'd like me to send you $20 to make a parlay, mate. I will be sending you $20 so you don't deposit your own $30. How about that? You take my picks, take whatever picks of mine that you like. I'll send you $20 to make your own parlay. If you want to hit me up on Twitter, if you want to send me that information privately, or you can comment your Cash App below and I will be sending that to you. No bullshit, brother. Don't deposit your own money. Let me send you $20. Take 3 of these picks, parlay them, even though I don't love parlays. Work your betting however you want, mate. I got you, brother. Mar the Prince, my guy. We're actually going to be getting into the boxing portion now, Mar. Hope you're doing well, bro. So I know that you said your 3-star bet already is Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance, but I want to give you a moment to explain why you like that a little bit more in depth if you would like to. I know we already talked about the fight more, but I want to give you your point on taking the 3-star bet. And Mar, I'll be getting into boxing right when he's done explaining this MMA bet. Salute, brother.
Sure. So I think, when you look at the long and short of it, I think that Arman Tsarukyan, I think he's a top 3 lightweight on planet Earth right now. When you look at a lot of the wins that he's had, we've seen him have to fight back from getting rocked early by Joaquim Silva. We've really seen him start to develop his game. The brutal knockout versus Beneil Dariush. I think that he's somebody who's done a lot of the right things outside of the fight gym, doing grappling competitions and getting extra work there, really adding to his submission arsenal, like we talked about earlier, where once he gets on top, he has a wicked arm triangle that he put Benson Henderson to sleep with. And that's not an easy guy to tap on the ground.
He squeezed the shit out of Patricky Pitbull's neck too. Like
arm triangle there too. Is that right?
I thought it was wasn't it the RMC? I think he rear naked Patricky. I may be mixing up his grappling matches, but I think he rear naked Patricky, bro. Squeezed, like it was legitimately like the most vicious squeeze ever. And it was after some time of grappling. It wasn't a fresh grappling match.
Yeah, I think we've seen him a lot, even against Oliveira. So Oliveira, of course, everybody talks about the deep guillotine choke that he had there, but Tsarukyan really showed his ability to fight back from that. And then he was landing shots on Oliveira in the guard. He's not getting caught in these omoplata attempts like a guy like Gamrot was. He's doing damage from the guard, getting to half guard and doing damage. And that was a close fight. But I think when you look at the current form that both of those guys are in, it's Dan Hooker. I think he's come out on the right side of a couple split decisions. I thought he lost against Jalen Turner. I thought he had a really close fight against Gamrot. But I think that Tsarukyan, I think that for him in this fight, looking at where he stands in the title picture, anything less than a finish for him is going to be a loss. If he doesn't get a finish over Dan Hooker, he's not going to be next for the title shot. So, I think that for him to really make the statement, for him to make that statement, he really needs to go out and finish Dan Hooker in the spot. And that's what I'm going to take. I think it should probably be closer to minus 200 if we're being honest.
I do agree. I think the line, I just don't see how, honestly, I just don't see how Arman doesn't finish him in a 5-round fight. I just don't see on any, unfortunately, if this fight was made 10 times, I would take Arman to finish him in a 5-round fight at least 8 times. And that alone, what line should that be? Minus 300, minus 350? All day. So your 3-star bet, Arman Tsarukyan inside the distance, minus 140. For my boxing fans out there, my 3-star bet, yes, it's a boxing bet. I got y'all. And here we go. This one, I'm letting my nuts hang on this one because I have a very unpopular opinion on this fight. And that 3-star bet, y'all, Brian Norman Jr. money line. Now, that's not what is letting your nuts hang. What I like is I'm taking Brian Norman Jr. by points, y'all. I'm taking his money line heavy at even money. Every book has it even money. Bet 365 minus 115 across. DK minus 110 across. FanDuel minus 110 across. Every book has this at even money. My 3-star bet of the week, Brian Norman Jr. Now let me get into the X's and O's why I like Brian Norman Jr. here. Brian Norman Jr. is athletic. He's young. He can hit. Great lead hook. He can punch on the body on the inside when he does get into the inside. Athleticism to cover the gap. And he enters the pocket pretty responsibly. I think people don't give him enough credit for his setups on how he enters the pocket. Devin Haney, too willing to fight on the back foot. He's, at this point, has glaring holes, has issues with the lead left hand, can be stab jab to the body, as we saw against old-ass Jose Ramirez. I don't think Devin Haney has the firepower to keep Brian Norman off him for 12 rounds. Now, where my unpopular opinion on this fight comes down to is I think Brian Norman Jr. is going to win this fight by decision. I think Devin Haney is sturdy enough, especially at the higher weight class, which we haven't seen yet, but I think he will be sturdy. I think he will be in great shape. I think Devin Haney has good enough fight IQ, and we've seen him get up from being dropped at 140 and getting dropped multiple times. Now, the damage accumulates, I understand, but we haven't seen him take much damage besides that. Even in the Vasily fight, like, he didn't take shit for damage. Like, if we're just looking at it from that angle. So when I break down all of these things into perspective here, I like the craft of Brian Norman. I like him growing fight over fight. You look at his fight over fight improvements from Gio Santillan to Derek Cuevas to Jin Sasaki. It's night and day. It's night and day. The way he enters the pocket, the way he's cutting he doesn't necessarily, he's not great at cutting the ring, but he's good at floating the angles and catching you while you're moving. So I love Brian Norman Jr. money line minus 110 for my 3-star bet of the day. But guys, my sneaky bet, Brian Norman Jr. by decision is plus 300 on ESPN bet. Give me that shit. Give me all of that shit.
Man, Sam, I'm so excited for that fight. That might be the fight I'm looking forward to most this weekend. The first fight that I had watched Brian Norman Jr. was against Santillan, and wow, what a performance. I was one where I was looking at the boxing slate for that weekend, was doing some research, and Norman was a guy I hadn't watched before. Remember him being a huge underdog in that fight too.
Plus 450, I believe, going into the fight. Plus 450. I caught a live line on him on ESPN Bet after round 4. Plus 380. I got him at plus 380 after round 4.
And I want to say, that's a fight I haven't rewatched in a while, but, I want to say after round 2, it looked like one-way traffic too. Really started to take over and was hurting him with doing a lot of damage on the face as well. And since then, I've watched every one of his fights. One of the biggest bets I've ever placed was on him to win by knockout against Jin Sasaki in his last fight. And I mean, wow. I mean,
he's cash, brother.
And he's making improvements from fight to fight too. I think, like you mentioned, Devin Haney does have issues with the lead left hook. And Norman Jr. isn't just a guy who's setting this up and just throwing wild punches. If you look at the left hook that he landed against Cuevas, I mean, that was sneaky. He fights inside, I think, a lot better than Devin Haney. I don't think Devin Haney has much of an inside game at all. He's going to use his footwork. And, when I saw this fight got announced, I assumed that Devin Haney was going to be a big favorite. Was rather surprised to see Norman. I don't know if he opened as the favorite, but he was the favorite for a good while. And now it's about 50-50. I really hope to see Norman win because it's been pretty cool to follow his career. But I don't know if, everybody's talking about, Norman hasn't fought anybody. But when you look at who Devin's fought, he hasn't fought this kind of opponent. This is a dangerous fight for him.
He hasn't fought anyone this athletic that's been growing fight over fight in a while. That's a young fighter. That's a big thing. This is the first young athletic in his prime fighter that he's fought in quite some time. But yeah, man. So
that interview was so funny that guy's
literally. That's why I brought up this, man. Norman Jr. Gonna break, dude. I love listening to Brian Norman talk. So fun fact: my mom's from Louisiana. My mom's from the South, so I'm big on Southern folk. Like I love seeing my Southern folk do well. I'm from Arizona, so I can't even act like I'm from the boot myself, but my mom is. So, Mar, thank you for giving me my flowers, brother. Even though, as we're seeing now with what's happening with Matias, I appreciate you giving me my flowers. Yeah, I called Matias plus 550 by decision. That was actually funny enough. That was the bet that made me realize I need to start doing YouTube breakdowns because I was like, man, this is like, I don't know. I just felt like it was don't want to say clear, but it felt like the path to victory for Matias in that fight against Backfoot Puello was no doubt going to be a decision. So that's actually the call that made me start this YouTube channel. So shout out to you, Mar. I appreciate you, brother.
And I hate to say I was on the opposite side of that one.
A lot of people were. A lot of smart people, too. Like Johnny Says Boxing, smart-ass dude, knows the game, back and forth. He was on Puello, too. Like, that's a 50-50 fight.
I thought he won that fight.
100%. That's the one thing is
he closed as a big favorite on the live line too after round 12. That was a great fight though.
Honestly, that fight could have been scored 6-6 or 7-5 either which way, and I wouldn't have complained. I expected to lose that fight. I'm not gonna lie. I expected them to give it to Puello, but my buddy I was with, who's a super casual, he's like, nah, bro, I think your boy won. Like he was confident as hell that Subaru won that fight, so that made me feel a little bit better.
You know, it was one of those fights where if you're somebody who, you know, if you're newer to boxing, the whole time it looks like Matias is doing a lot more. But, you know, as you're watching, you know, he's throwing, I want to say the punch count, he threw so many shots in that fight, fighting on the inside, forcing the issue. But Puello did good work as well. But
Puello can fight on the back. That's what he does. He fights on the back foot. He's solid. I mean, look at his Gary Antoine Russell performance on the back foot, man. I mean, I think he lost against Sandor Martin, but that was two fighters that were willing to fight on the back foot, which is hilarious to me. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, Big Sam, we're getting into the 4 stars now, baby. Holy shit. It's the moneymaker time. Let's get it, y'all. 4-star bet of the day for you, Big Sam. What are we thinking, brother?
So I think a lot of people are probably on the opposite side of this one. I don't know where the community sits on this, but I'm on Begzat Almakhan money line versus Alexander Topuria. I may be saying his first name wrong, but I
just want you to know we're on the same. I just want you to know I love that pick. Sorry for cutting you off. Oh, I'm so glad you said this one.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those where, you know, I think Topuria, when you look at his record, it's a shallow 6-1. Colby Thickness gave him a tough fight. Granted, he looked good against Musasa in his last fight, but I think that Alexander Topuria, he has almost the same exact style as his brother Ilya Topuria, using a lot of head movement, high guard. Not a lot of kicks. He'll fire a low kick here and there. But I think where they're different is I don't know if he has the same explosive power that Ilya has. You know, I really thought he was going to get a stoppage against Colby Thickness and was disappointed when I saw that. Begzat Almakhan, on the other hand, when you look at the regional tape on this guy, he has explosive power for 135 pounds.
He flash dropped old boy Umar.
And I bet him in that fight. Looking at the regional tape, I think because he's plus 700 or something like that. But when you look at the regional tape on this guy, he's a very good fighter. Very good fighter. Good kicks. I mean, the uppercut that he caught Brad Katona with. I mean, this guy can crack.
He put Brad Katona, who's known to be tough as balls, out.
Yeah, I think he had never been stopped before. And he's fought Marab. He's fought a lot of good fighters. John Matsumoto, I think,
fought on the Ultimate Fighter twice.
Yeah. But Almakhan, I think that if you're not forcing a wrestling heavy game plan on him, he's going to be hitting you harder than you're hitting him. I think this guy's a real prospect at 135 pounds. And granted, I think that's the deepest division in the UFC. But I see his ceiling being a lot higher at this weight class. He's big for the weight class, too. I don't remember exactly how tall he is. But, yeah, I think he's the side here. I think some people are getting caught up in the name value of his opponent. But, yeah, I think he has all the tools. 12-2 pro record, some more experience. But
and he's fought in the better guys by a country mile. Topuria's fought in nobody besides literally nobody besides Colby Thickness. Literally nobody. Another thing too as well. This is like that Bellator style of betting. You see an OAV at the end of their name, you know they're getting a tag automatically attached to it. So you go into a little bit of deeper dive. I remember getting Henry Corrales plus 310 against a Russian that's like Ukrainian, not even an actual Dagestani Russian. He was a Ukrainian. I forget the name, but he was like a plus 310. Shout out to my boy, okay, Henry Corrales. Now they're trying to strip Matias. They really want Smith versus Azim. It's crazy as just 4 days ago, Fresh Value MVP Promotions posted that both fighters submitted clean samples. So now 4 days later, there's a dirty sample. What the fuck are we talking about here? And they
too, just like Garcia popped for.
I don't understand, man. And What I'm curious about is this is a test that he popped for in this camp with Smith. I don't understand why everybody's bringing up Puello now as if he was on Austrian versus Puello. If they never tested him then, I don't know, man. And I just got to say this too as well. Subriel Matias is one of my favorite boxers. I love Subriel Matias. Forward coming marauder, absolute gangster, absolute pressure. But man, he's still my boy. But if the sample B comes out positive as well, I'll be a little bit disappointed in my guy. Azim versus Smith, crazy fight, but they just announced Smith versus Puello already. Smith versus Puello.
I saw people were speculating on it. That's official?
Yeah, so let me make sure I'm not tripping. Shout out my boy Johnny Says Boxing because he put it on his Instagram, and that came straight from Ring Magazine. Let me pull this up. My bad, champs.
Disappointed with Matias, though, because I think he's somebody where if you're trying to get a fan into boxing, he's the person you tell him to watch.
Boom. Okay. Ring Magazine, Mike Carpenter. Puello already yeah, so they're already making that. So wait a minute. Whoa. Okay, never mind. I was just making sure that it didn't say they tested for the Puello fight. So yeah, man. So I really like your 4-star bet. I think it's a great 4-star bet, man. And I think it's a high confidence play. He tested clean for all his fights. I've heard Austrian can be absorbed through the skin. There's a lot of PEDs out there. Well, there's a lot of PEDs and chemical balances that can be absorbed through everything from sweat through the skin, can be absorbed from literally, bro, touching the wrong toilet paper. It's insane. It's like, because PEDs, they absorb into your bloodstream very similar to something like LSD does. You guys need to check out the Champ Theory HQ, my boy Adam the Analyst on Twitter. He has one of the best breakdowns on PEDs and Austrian I've ever seen. So please check out Adam the Analyst on Twitter, y'all. Go do some of his pinned tweets. He has an incredible breakdown in PEDs and boxing. That's sharp dude, man. One of the sharpest dudes, like not in terms of betting, but just a smart guy. So,
I think Austrian, because I have some experience powerlifting for a little bit where PEDs, that's a sport where they really do run rampant. But Austrian is one of those things. It's a SARM. It's a, the ARM, I think, is androgen receptor molecule.
Isn't it supposed to like cut down on your, what's it called? What's the opposite of testosterone, but make you not grow tits,
estrogen.
Right?
Estrogen, yeah.
Like it's to make you not grow tits. Am I mistaken?
As far as specifically what it does, I'm not sure. But with Austrian, different from, if a guy's on testosterone or something like that. One, it's something that's usually taken orally, and it's something that is it's something that's sold in supplement shops a lot of times. So your local nutrition store, a lot of those places, it might be state specific, but it might be a supplement that's marketed as something that's this muscle gaining pill, but it has something like Austrian in it. Because I don't know.
So something similar like what happened with Sean O'Malley not long ago, like.
I think he took Austrian too. Yeah, I think that's
he took a vitamin. So again, this kind of comes down to being a local boy in Arizona. I've talked to a few of his actual boys from Red Hawk Academy, and they all swear to the T. He literally took a supplement, like a vitamin supplement from a GNC or something like that, and it contained what was the B sampled, and that's why he got cleared of it after multiple years.
Yeah, so I think that's why a lot of guys get caught for it, because realistically, if you're trying to cheat, there's probably something better that you could take. But it's something that if supplements are contaminated or you're taking a supplement that's not regulated or cleared through the drug testing program, that it's usually going to be something like that.
Either way, man, I really would like to see Matias come back with a negative B sample so everyone could clear my boy's name, because Subriel is going to have one last great performance on him. And then after that, it will be the twilight of his career, unfortunately. We will see him devastatingly get knocked out by somebody due to his style, due to the damage he takes. I just want to see one last great performance from my boy, and I don't want it to be tainted under PD allegations, just because that's still my boy. I love me some Subriel Matias. All right, my boxing fans, my 4-star bet of the day is a boxing bet. Let me type it out for y'all. But for my 4-star bet, I love me some Francisco Verón to knock out Romain Villa at plus 150 ESPN bet. Now, y'all, let me break down exactly why I like this play. And I understand Romain Villa, he's going to be coming up in weight class. He not great to get knocked out by Boots and then Salas back-to-back, especially Salas, who's not overly a huge puncher. Villa doesn't have feet. I think he is so susceptible to taking shots to the body. And yes, Verón does slow down as the fight goes on. But Verone is going to have the natural size advantage in this case, the natural pop advantage. And guys, Villa looked horrible on the scale. His chin is cracked. His feet are washed. And he isn't willing to engage in firefights. He doesn't catch and shoot anymore. He doesn't try to reactively play defense anymore. He tries to get into firefights. So for my 4-star bet of the day, we have Francisco Verone by KO, TKO, plus 150 on ESPN Bet, y'all. Love that play. My 4-star bet of the day, and I absolutely love that play. I personally know Romain, brother. Oh, wait a minute. We have some insider info. We got some insider info. Shout out Luis. I personally know Romain, brother. I did not see him in good spirits. Brother, Luis, you may have just turned my 4-star bet into my 5-star bet. I just want you to know, I think you just turned my 4-star bet into my 5-star bet. So
we know what Luis is putting the parlay on now.
Yeah, I mean, bro, plus 150, man. Dude, damn, man. I mean, and that's your boy, so I hope you know I'm not shitting on your boy. I hope you know that. I'm only speaking from an analytical boxing perspective. I'm keeping all my emotions out of this. I just don't see him getting out of there, man. I see Verone cracking him, and I see Verone cracking him and getting him out of there probably around 6 or 7. Probably around 6 or 7, man. So for my 4-star bet, I love me some Francisco Verone plus 150 ESPN Bet, TKO, KO, disqualification. Hans History Volt says, Luis, please do tell. So we are now down to our favorite bets of the night, y'all. These are the bets that we will be feeling great about, making our biggest money statements on. Sir, Sam, what is your 5-star bet? And I know you said it was a boxing bet.
It's a boxing bet. And, I'll even throw in an honorable mention too. When breaking down the tape on Abdullah Mason versus Sam Noakes, and I'm not biased just because we have the same first name, but I think there's a lot of people out there who are talking about this fight who haven't watched much of Sam Noakes because he's a really good fighter. Really good fighter. And I get where people say it's a bad stylistic matchup for him. But, something that, I think I tweeted about this, a couple weeks ago as well, is I think Abdullah Mason, similar to somebody like Boots Ennis, he doesn't always do what is the technically right thing. Sometimes he'll try to punch with guys. He'll try to, wait for his opponent to throw, and he'll try to time up the shot. And that's why he's gotten dropped in a couple of fights.
He throws double rear uppercuts.
Yeah, things like that. And I think for him to win this fight, he's going to have to fight in a way that we haven't seen him fight yet. If he goes out there and styles on Sam Noakes, then then I'll probably be aboard the bandwagon and say this guy is the next best thing in the sport of boxing. But plus 260 is what I'm seeing on Sam Noakes. I think he has the ability to make this a really dirty fight. I think he has the ability to hurt Abdullah Mason in this fight. And I'm probably going to find my way to taking a shot on him. The hand history vault, Mason's overrated. I mean, when you look at some of the mistakes he's making against the opponents that they're against. Also, this one is just a honorable mention. This isn't my.
My bad.
No, I get. This one's tough to get to because if Sam Noakes loses, he's probably going to lose in devastating fashion, and this one it's going to look like it never had a chance. But my 5-star bet is none other than David.
One sec, before you get into your 5-star bet, can I give you my quick thoughts on Noakes and Mason? My followers have absolutely heard me. This is actually the tape that for this weekend I did the most tape on by a country mile. I probably did like 7 hours of tape on this fight alone, just because one, you have so much tape to watch on both fighters. Sam Noakes, of course, makes me go through 12-round fights 2 times in a row. Yep. But with that being said, guys. Man, Sam Noakes on the inside, far more skilled. Collar ties, frames, ties up. The bigger puncher, the better body puncher on the inside. From the mid-range, I think it's a 55-45 fight for Mason due to the athleticism and the feet. And from long range, I favor Mason, but Mason doesn't fight at the long range. Here's where my issues and questions happen. Sam Noakes against Ryan Walsh was so willing to fight against the southpaw on the back foot and didn't like to enter the pocket. And then you have Abdullah Mason. We've never seen him go 12 rounds. We've never seen him go 10 rounds. And yeah, we've seen him get dropped against Vasquez, but Vasquez can crack, man. Vasquez can crack, and he's not that bad of a fighter. There's just so many different variables and factors that I think this is a great live bet. I think this is as good of a live bet as it gets. And let me tell you why. I think Sam Noakes, if this fight gets past 7 rounds, will eke out some later rounds with his inside work, his volume, his pressure, his body punching. And I think if he stabs 1 or 2 early rounds, you can take a live bet on Sam Noakes, because not only will the popular money be coming in on Mason, my apologies, y'all. You guys see, I got my wisdom teeth done 2 days ago, so my mouth keeps salivating. My apologies. But I just think this is a great live bet spot, man. And I think there's going to be a possibility to get some money on Sam Noakes. It's just it's a way closer fight than you're giving me plus 260 for Sam Noakes. So I think that's a great honorable mention. So that being said, let's hear your real 5-star bet, your official 5-star bet.
Yeah, my 5-star bet's going to be David Benavidez to win by knockout or TKO against Anthony Yarde. I think it's a fight where, and I think I heard you talk about this on one of your previous videos, when David Benavidez starts to go through the gears and he starts to roll downhill on these guys. We haven't seen it yet at light heavyweight, but, when he starts rolling downhill, he's doing a lot of damage. I mean, Caleb Plant was just trying to survive in that fight. I think Anthony Yarde, somebody who, he's going to be live early, but I think this is the perfect stylistic matchup for David Benavidez to find his first stoppage at 175 pounds. Similar to when talking about for UFC, when talking about Arman Tsarukyan versus Dan Hooker, if he goes to a decision with Dan Hooker, that's a disappointment for him. It is not going to set him up for the next fight he wants. David Benavidez has, he wants to fight against Canelo, Bivol, Better Beef, all of
I just listened to an interview with him today. After this fight, he wants to go up and fight Zurdo Ramirez next at cruiserweight.
Does he? See,
yep.
I think that'd be a great fight. Going up to cruiserweight, I don't know how that looked for him, because I think he's having a bit of trouble filling out light heavyweight. He's not the biggest, most put together guy like, somebody like Better Beef, but I think if he's not getting the stoppage in this fight, there needs to be a real conversation about, where he's at at light heavyweight, amongst the best fighters. Because I think this is a tailor-made matchup for him, and I think he's going to go out and impress. I'm really high on David Benavidez. I thought that David Morrell was a tough matchup for him, but figured he'd pull away late down the stretch. But yeah, I think he's due for a knockout here, and I see it happening. Minus 155, I think, is what was on DraftKings for it.
I saw it on FanDuel at minus 140. Best line is on FanDuel at minus 140. It could have it was actually minus 145. I'm off by a $5, but still it's in the minus 140s. But it's funny is I was wondering when we would have some overlap, and it's finally happened. The overlap has finally happened, because my 5-star bet, a parlay, plus 137 DraftKings, Bam and Benavidez, knockouts and stoppages. You've hit the nail on the head with Benavidez. The minute he starts going through the gears, the minute that Yarde starts to wilt, that's going to be a downhill ball of fire. I like them both to kind of get it done 7 through 12, even though I think Puma has a possibility of getting stopped early. I think Bam Rodriguez, if him and Puma were to fight 100 times, this is not an exaggeration. I know people are high on Puma. Styles make fights, guys. If Puma and Bam were to fight 100 times, Bam stops him 90 of 100 times. I really believe that. I really do. Puma enters irresponsibly. He trades hooks. He plants his feet. He dips over his center line where Bam Rodriguez will shift angles and uppercut you from hell. He's susceptible to the body. And he is Argentinian, which means he is tough as nails. He has an adamantium skull. As we know, those Argentinians are made differently. I don't know what is in the water over there, but they're all tough as bones. But Bam is next level. Bam is a top 5 pound-for-pound guy right now. I think Bam stops Junto Nakatani if he were to fight Junto. If Taraji wins this super fight against Wilbaldo, he's going to stop Taraji.
I think he stops Taraji as well. Junto, I think it's a tougher fight, but yeah, definitely Taraji.
I have the unpopular opinion that if Bam were to move up and fight Junto at 118 right now, that he would stop Junto. I really believe that. Bam is right now, outside of maybe Terrence Crawford, the most complete fighter you have on planet Earth. You have on planet Earth, man. Angles, switches stances, punches with both hands, can move, can defensively move, can fight behind multiple guards, catching and shooting, a shell, a high guard. Bam Rodriguez by stoppage, man, is in my opinion, is a free of a play on any parlay as you can put. Legitimately as free of a play on any parlay as you can put. And you already broke down Benavidez Yarde. I don't need to hammer that anymore home. I like Benavidez to start getting the volume and the downhill train rolling, and Yarde to eventually check out of the fight. I could see corner stoppages for both fights. If it doesn't come down to actually them stopping it, I can see the volume in the later rounds for Benavidez stopping it for yard. And I can absolutely see Puma's corner throwing in the towel for the punishment that Bam will be putting on him. Hans History Bolt said it perfectly. His biggest problem is trading. Remember when he got dropped in round 11 versus Ioka? How'd he get dropped? Trading hooks. Trading hooks. If you trade hooks with Bam, brother, stop it. You're going to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great play as well. Like you said, Bam's one of the best fighters in the sport right now. And then Benavidez as well. You know, we spoke about that also. But yeah, dude, this is probably one of the cards I've been the most excited for in boxing in a while. I mean, you know, there's a lot of people going back and forth on, you know, is Riyadh season and Turkey Al Sheikh good for boxing? I think something that they're doing really well is they're getting entire cards of very competitive fights. You know, for the most part, you know, I think Benavidez and Yard, I think that it'll look competitive for a while until it doesn't. Haney versus Norman, I mean, I see that being the most divisive one online.
A true 50-50. That's a literal true 50-50. Stylistic wise, that's a true 50-50. Luis, I'm gonna get to your question too as well, just so you know, brother.
But yeah, I mean, I think this card's great for the sport, and yeah, I'm probably looking forward to this more so than I am the UFC card this weekend.
I couldn't agree with you more. I actually just told my buddy this is the most excited. My boy Ramsey, shout out Ramsey. I told him it's the most excited I've been for a boxing card since the 5v5. The 5v5 that we got Queensbury versus Matchroom a few years ago, that's the most excited I've ever been for a card. And I am feeling that level of excitement for this weekend of boxing. And my brother Luis, just to answer your question, I do rate Verone highly. His performance against Brandon Adams, besides him getting dropped, which I don't think he was really too hurt, he was just more rocked in a way. I thought he was close to either. He could have won that fight against Brandon Adams, who I rate Brandon Adams, especially after his last performance, very highly. He went life or death with Jahad Tucker, and I like Truck a lot. I like Truck's work a lot. And, dude, a lot of people thought that he lost against Tamur, but, dude, he beat up Tamur on the inside and the body. I like Verone. I think he's a class 154-pounder. I really do, man. I think Verone can fight someone like a Brandon Adams today and win. I think he can fight any top 10 guy right now at 154 pounds. I'm trying to think besides like the top guys. Like clearly he gets smoked by the Virgils and the Boots and the Fundoras of the world, right? But so yeah, man, I do rate Verone pretty highly. I rate Verone pretty highly. I think he's a top 10 154-pounder on planet Earth right now. I really do. So what do you guys think of Mason Noakes under 10.5? I feel Mason is live to get clipped, but I think he gets a finish. Honestly, one of my sneaky bets that I gave out this weekend was actually the Mason Noakes over 9.5 at even money. I think that's kind of a sneaky bet because Sam Noakes is sturdy. And even if he begins to start getting his ass whooped, I can see him defensively fighting in more of a negative defensive stance and posture. So I'm going to be honest with you, man. I actually like the over in this fight. I like this fight to go the distance. See, the two closest fights to me on this card, in my opinion, are Noakes Mason and Devin Haney Norman. And when I have close fights in boxing that I think are actually close, I always take those fights to go the distance. I just think that's a smart play, man. So that's kind of how I like it, man. What do you think of the under 10.5 here, Sam?
You know, I think, like I was saying with this fight earlier, I think for Mason, you know, Mason's a big favorite. But I feel like for him to win this fight and win it comfortably, he needs to fight a different game plan than what we've seen him do in his other fights. I think this is a step up in competition for him. I think if he goes after Sam Noakes like he did against Vasquez, for example, you know, a fight where he did get dropped, I think it's, you know, at that point, he's making it a 50-50 fight. And I could see either of them getting clipped. So I don't mind that. Like I said, you know, I did a lot of tape study for that fight as well. And I don't really know how to feel about it. Like I said, if Sam Noakes loses, it's probably going to be him getting splattered in the first 6 or 7 rounds.
It'll be something devastating. I agree. It'll be something that's a snipe. And by the way, M80 Mang, just so you know, that's just my opinion. I always like to tell everybody, my opinion is not word of Bible as we know. Please do your own tape study, your own research, whatever you like best, because I'm not always right, man. I'm not always right. So, I mean, no one's always right. It's impossible in this betting game to be 100% right.
You know, and for me being a not as well-read of a boxing fan as yourself, you know, I've watched a few of Abdullah Mason's fights now. And when you see this fight get announced, as a more casual fan of myself, first instinct is, okay, Abdullah Mason's going to stop this guy. And then you look at the tape on Sam Noakes, and he's an excellent fighter. Maybe not excellent, but he's a very good fighter. So we're going to see. He's going to have to show me something.
I'm really curious to see how this one goes, man. I'm excited for this fight. Second closest fight on the card, in my opinion, besides Norman Haney. And I even think with Norman Haney, I think it's the hardest fight to call because which way does it go? Which way does it go? And you just have so many unknown variables in that. Mar the Prince, you already know, brother. I will be cocky and say I don't think there's many Americans that watch as much Japanese boxing as I do. My dog's name's fucking Inoue, but I'm not going for Inoue, man. The way they're moving tension has been brilliant. From Victor Santillan to the Maloney fight, just moving him step by step up, pace by pace. There are not many guys that have, I think he only has 7 or 8 fights, and he's fought guys like Jonathan Rodriguez to start his career, Luis Torres, Jason Maloney, Victor Santillan. And yeah, Tacoma Inoue had a pretty decent scrap there with Saisumi in his last one, but Inoue is so hittable. He's not great at tracking. And I think tension, even though he fights still kind of like a kickboxer, he still boxes kind of like a kickboxer with his jousting style. I think he's going to have a hard time tracking tension. The lines suck. And I understand why a lot of people are dog chasing for Inoue, but I just don't see it. I don't see how Inoue wins the fight. I think he's going to have a hard time tracking tension. I don't think he puts out enough volume, and I don't think he cracks hard enough. I think tension's going to clear Inoue. And my boy Keezy even agrees. Tension's going to piece him up. Now,
I think no, you're fine. I was going to say, just commenting on the tension fight, I need to look into that fight a little bit more versus Inoue. But from what I've seen in tension and boxing right now, I think I'm not honestly the highest on him. He was, I think, pound for pound #1 kickboxer for a while when he was in that space. We all watched the fight that he had on New Year's Eve versus Floyd Mayweather years back. I think that was his first kind of introduction to the boxing world. But I don't know. It's somewhere along the way. I think he's going to have a step up where he's going to struggle. I don't know if it's here though. It wasn't going to be against somebody like Maloney, but I don't know. There are people who talk about a Junto Nakatani fight with him somewhere down the road. God forbid, a Naoya Inoue fight. I mean, those are both horrible matchups for him where I think he'd get hurt really badly. I think that probably will happen somewhere along the way. I just don't know when it's going to be. I need to look at this one a little bit closer. I'm just not very high on him from what I've seen.
I can understand. I don't think he's shed that kickboxing shell yet, but I think we really started to see him plant his feet more like a boxer against Victor Santillan, hold his angles a little bit more against Victor Santillan. Another thing too, as well, is Inoue fought his last fight at 124 pounds where he struggled to make the weight at 124 pounds. That's something I take into consideration here too, as well. So Nakano Alim, I'm very high on Nakano. I think he's like one of the futures in boxing. And I really like Reese Alim. He does a lot of good work. Reese Alim may be one of the more underrated fighters in boxing, quite frankly, here. Reese Alim in his last performance here, if you guys don't remember, against Rudy Garcia, he looked incredible. Movement, angles, fighting on the back foot. I loved him against Sam Goodman, and Sam Goodman's a damn good boxer. But Nakano's good, man. There's a reason his line has gone from -125 to -260 in 2 days. Nakano's going to put out the volume. He's going to have the better angles. He's going to have the better body punching. And you guys know how huge I am on body punching. I think Nakano gets it done. And I think he may be the first guy to stop Alim. I think he is going to be the first guy to stop Alim. And Quadras, how the fuck am I not going to take OG Carlos Quadras at +400? Straight up. I have to be honest with you, Mar. I haven't cracked a lot of tape on Savoy as of late. I remember his last fight. Who did he fight in his last one? I'm having a mind block. When you watch so many fighters that you mix them up. I will crack some more tape on that one tonight. But I'm confident that Tension gets it done against Inoue. I'm confident that Nakano gets it done. I think Nakano's going to stop Alim. When they drop those props, I'm going to take him by knockout. And come on, dude. Quadras, the OG, stepping up Savoy, who's had 2 fights? Has he had 2 fights or something like that? That's far too much of a step up, in my opinion. So, you have any thoughts on those, by the way, Sam? My apologies for ranting there.
I'm not as familiar with them. Usually when I'm waking up early for Japanese boxing, it's typically, I woke up early to watch Norman.
Thank you for being honest, by the way. I hate I hate fools that will just cap for the funk. Thank you for being honest, bro.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to act like I'm familiar with all of these guys and try to give some opinion on them. A lot of the fights, there are fights where if I'm not familiar with some of the fighters, I'll look them up and see if there's maybe an angle. But yeah, I'll probably wake up to watch Tension because that's one that I'm interested in. But typically, I've woken up early to, because it's usually when those cards are starting. I mean, Eastern time, it's 4 a.m. Usually the main event starting around 7 a.m. and I'm getting ready for work.
I'm waking up for 1:30 and 2 a.m. No bullshit to watch these fights. It's absolutely insane. I walk my dog mad early. He's like, hell yeah. But hey, Luis, by the way, I mean, not that I'm the final keeper or say or anything. I love that parlay. Norman money line, Benavidez and Bam not to go the distance. I love that parlay. Even 30 on plus 260, you're getting almost a $90 return there. That's a banger parlay. I love that, Luis. Tyken moving to boy fast. He only has 2 fights, but being matched up with a tough vet Quadras. Mar, you already know, bro. Like, Quadras has fought in everybody. He fights with a high volume and pace. He has a damn good chin, quite frankly. So boy has a lot of amateur fights. Amateur shells, brother. I always say this. I like seeing pro boxers shed their amateur shell. How many great amateurs have we seen come in and not be able to pace from the amateur background? It's just one of those things here. But this is the one fight on this weekend, the Saboy Quadras fight. That's a Saboy that I need to crack his 2 pro tapes because I'm trying to remember, who did he fight on the last one? Can anyone in the comments tell me who he fought in his last fight? Because I specifically remember his name. But Carlos Quadras, man, veteran, has fought in everybody. Fucking dog. I love that man, Carlos Quadras. Just tuning in. Taped Bam. Puma seems super durable. Hesitant for the KO at Big Chalk. Here's the big thing, Big Steve. Here's the big thing. Styles make fights, durable or not. Puma will trade with Bam at multiple points in this fight. He will enter the pocket irresponsibly, and Bam will break him down to the body.
Yep.
I understand the chalk, and it's tough to stay away from, but I got to play it, man. I just got to trust a don't overthink it spot. I really think it's a don't overthink it spot for a Benavidez knockout and a Bam knockout. I'm not going to overthink it. This stylistic matchup is literally perfect. It's not like Cafu, who will neutralize himself in a back corner, and it will take 9 rounds to stop Cafu, or 10 rounds. Puma's going to be there to hit. He's going to meet him in the middle, even if he is a tough Argentinian. That Tao will come in at some point, too, if he's too tough for his own good. I guarantee it. I'm telling you, if they fought 100 times, Bam stops him 90. Just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, and with Bam works the body so well, too, and it doesn't matter how durable you are or how good your chin is. Once that starts to go, I mean, if you take a shot to the liver, or if you are getting consistently worked there over 12 rounds, that'll stop anybody.
I don't care, bro. It breaks you down, takes the tires out. Again, I just can't get over the fact that Puma decided to trade hooks with Ioka in the 11th round, brother. And who did he fight? The South African. Who did Puma fight? The South African that he got dropped. He had to come back from hell. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm getting killed with the names today. I'm forgetting, but he fought some South African. He got dropped and he was behind on the scorecards, and he came back to win in like a 10th or 11th round TKO. You could find this fight on Daily Motion. When you guys see it, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Puma is durable. I agree, Big Steve. He is durable. But styles make fights, and we're talking about a top 5 pound for pound right now. Bam's him. Bam is fucking him. Mark my words, y'all. 3 years' time, Bam is pound for pound number 1. Pound for pound number 1. Doesn't matter the super fight he makes. He finishes Tarazi. He's going to unify against Wibaldo, Taraji winner. He's going to move up to 118. And even though Juto's moving up to 122, so we'll never see that fight, he's just going to chase him at 118. Bam versus Tension. There's a super fight. Bang. We just made it. Bam versus Tension. And Bam would beat the shit out of Tension.
He'd beat him so badly. I don't think that'd be a remotely competitive fight, honestly. It'd be from a financial perspective, that fight does numbers. Because I don't know if a lot of people stateside realize it, but because we think of Inoue as being the big star out of Japan.
Goat. You're the GOAT, Mar. Thank you, brother. That's who the South African was, Anthony Koski. Sorry about that, Sam.
No, you're good. I was going to say Tension's a big deal over in Japan. He's probably the biggest combat athlete star that they have in their country.
I mean, once Bam unifies against Will Baldo and Taraji winner, he has to move up. There's nothing left for him. Or I think there is actually one more champion at 115. But Bam's just taking him out one by one. And I know Puma's going to be the youngest guy Bam's going to fight, but I think Bam wins. I'm sorry. I'm high the fact that the only super fight Bam wouldn't win, even though it's a 2 weight class jump, so we wouldn't see Inoue versus Bam. That's the only super fight that I don't see him winning right now. I think he beats Nakatani. I think he beats Taraji. I think he beats Tension. And if Will Baldo wins, I mean, it won't be a super fight, but he beats Will Baldo. You know, I think Will Baldo, of all of these fighters, is the toughest matchup, oddly. Very unpopular opinion there, so.
I'm waiting to see somebody with a question about UFC this weekend. I'll have more input on some of those.
Yeah, you won't get much of that in my comment section, brother. It's Breaking Bad boxing. I mean, I just like to give people a diverse section when it comes to combat sports. I hope people can just come here for combat sports in general. I'm no wizard when it comes to MMA. That's for sure. You're way more sharp when it comes to MMA with me, but boxing, I feel like I have a pretty good, I feel like, you know, time over time, I'm getting better with breaking down boxing and learning. And the best thing is I'm learning from a lot of people, man. Like in this game, when it comes to gambling, breaking down fights, just watching fights in general, man, we are never too good to learn from anybody, right? Like, and the minute that you stop learning from someone or thinking you're too good at this shit, that's when you're going to take negative L's. You're going to get killed with, as my boy Big Steve says, tilt. Just all these things, man. I mean, yeah, I'm expecting a really good weekend this weekend, man. I think we have some damn good bets lined up too as well. So, do you want to one last time run through your 1 through 5 star bets for everybody that's live now?
Yeah, absolutely. So let me flip back to the page. I have them on. I wrote them down. So I think I messed up the order of some of these on here, but
yeah, it's all good.
All of these are picks I feel fairly confident in, but starting from least confident and most confident. So Alex Perez money line versus Asu Almabayev was my first one. You know, long story short, I think he's able to stop the takedowns. I think he's the better striker. I think he's going to throw more volume. And if his body's holding up, I think in hindsight, he's going to look like a favorite here. You can find him at plus 165 on BetMGM. Yeah, and I had said this as number 2, but Begzat Almakhan was number 4 is what I had down. Plus 120 versus Alexander Topuria. I think he's the more powerful striker on the feet. I think he scrambles really well. I think if he gives up takedowns, he's going to be able to get back to his feet. I don't think he's going to be, in danger of giving up too much top time. Topuria doesn't pass the guard like somebody like Nurmagomedov does, Umar Nurmagomedov does, where he's able to hold a bantamweight down for, 5 minutes, 3, 4, 4.5 minutes at a time. That's not something a lot of guys can do, and I think Almakhan's the side. I think he can win by knockout or he can win on the scorecards. Next, I had I totally messed up the order when we went through these. But next, I had Arman Sarukian inside the distance, minus 145 on DraftKings is what I saw. I think he's
Love that one, bro. Love it.
I think when it comes to
legit, hate to say it, free money almost.
Yeah, I mean, again, like Benavidez. If Benavidez goes to a decision with Yard, everybody's going to be disappointed at that. He knows he needs to get a stoppage here. Same thing with Arman Sarukian. He wants to challenge for the title next. I think he was on record saying that.
By the way, brother, Almakhan's line has dropped to a plus 114 as we've been filming this. Line movers, hashtag line movers.
Yep. But yeah, Arman Sarukian, I think he's talked about, that he'll turn around and fight for the 155 belt in January if they call him for it. He's intending to get in and get out this weekend. And I think Hooker's been running hot lately, but I think he's biting off more than he can chew here. And I think Sarukian's going to dominate. I think he's going to cut him with elbows on the ground. I think he could get a stoppage there or get a submission. Then number 2, this is my most confident MMA bet that I have this weekend. Volkan Ozdemir versus Alonzo Menafield, either fighter to win by knockout or TKO, minus 130 on FanDuel. These are 2 guys who start very fast, have heavy hands, and typically their opponents are trying to grapple them. I don't see Volkan trying to implement a grappling game plan versus Menafield. I don't see him doing the same thing either. I think they're going to start fast, and somebody's going to hit the canvas.
And statistically speaking, by the way, incredible bet. 13 of 20 wins, knockout for Ozdemir. 9 of 17 wins, knockout for Menafield.
And both guys have shown that they can get put out themselves too. I think Menafield has a submission or 2, but these are generally reactive submissions. I think he guillotined Jimmy Crute in the rematch. He had like a shoulder choke versus Fabio Charant, a couple years back, but these are guys who are trying to grapple him. And
Fabio Charant, what a fucking name I haven't heard in a hot minute, my G.
I think he got cut after that fight or maybe, a fight or 2 after that. wasn't really UFC level. But yeah, I think stylistically, this is one that's going to be really good for the fans. I think guys generally try to almost fight negative versus Menafield. You have Umar Sy and Julius Walker who want to grapple or stay on the outside, and that's not the way Ozdemir fights. Nasty calf kicks, jab, left hook, works the body, power in both hands from Ozdemir. I'd probably lean towards that side, but yeah, somebody's going to get knocked out here. And, when you're looking at a minus 130 number, that should probably be minus 250. I mean,
hammer spot. You have to look in the line volumes. And everyone, just so you guys know, in the comment section, I'll be jumping to all the comments too as well.
Yeah, and especially when you look at, I think Volkan Ozdemir by knockouts plus 120. Why would I? There's no reason to do that when it's minus 130 to take either fighter by KO. So I think that's the side there. Then lastly, for my number one spot, David Benavidez by knockout. Do you want some plus money? Rounds 7 through 12 is probably good as well. Knockouts is safer because I could see rounds 1 through 4 being an all-out war, and I could see Yard fading quick would be my only hesitancy there. But yeah, anything other than a stoppage is a disappointment for David Benavidez this weekend, and I think he knows that. Yep.
My pinned tweet, Benavidez 7 through 12. Hands History Bolt, let me run through those picks for you one more time for my boy because he likes your UFC picks, so I'm going to run through them. He likes Arman Sarukian inside the distance, minus 140, which I love, by the way. I think it's as free of money as you can get. He likes Volkan Ozdemir Menafield to end by knockout. Beautiful, especially when you look at the numbers behind it.
Minus 130.
Minus 130. And then you got a dog, Bozkat Almakan right now. His line already moved from plus 125 to plus 114 as we were filming this. And what was your last MMA pick, my brother?
It was my least confident, and it's really only because you don't know what kind of form he's in, is Alex Perez. Jesu Almabayev. He has great takedown defense. He blew out his knee in a weird way versus Tatsuro Taira in his last fight.
It was like a back knee bend trap. Like he was like crossing the hook on the back end, like crossing his hook leg. So and bent him over his own knee.
He had the body triangle in, and usually, the leg where it's locking up on the body triangle you have on the outside, but he had it weaved in like through his leg, and it's like he took like a hard angle and almost like pulled into the side while he was hooking that leg, and yeah, it caused him to fall down, blow out his knee, and he was screaming in pain. So
I mean, let's be honest, he did that. That was a perpetual thing. Like that was no doubt. He did that smart enough knowing that he was going to get the stoppage there. Like
I'd hate to be the training partner that he's probably done that to before, but Perez looked good in that fight up until a weird stoppage there. And besides that, he's losing to the best guys. Assume Almabayev. I mean, this is a guy who, when he wasn't getting takedowns versus Manel Kopp, he looked in a world of trouble. And I know he got poked in the eye a couple times there, but got stopped by Manel Kopp. I think that was in round 1 or 2. So
and that was Manel Kopp who wasn't stopping anybody. The dude that never broke out of his Ryzen shell finally started to break out of that Ryzen shell. Manel Kopp has all the talent in the world, just never puts it together. Very frustrating fighter.
Put him on the, he put Almabayev on the back foot, was walking down. At one point, Almabayev had his back turned and was running away. And I think Perez puts a lot of that pressure on guys as well. So, I think if his body is good to go, I think he's the side. I think he's going to put him on the back foot. And, picking a method would probably be tough here. But, Perez is the side.
Bro, I love your picks. You have some great picks. Boss Marv, what up, brother? Hope you're doing well. I'm going to run through my picks right now, but just so you know, my third most confident bet of the day, Brian Norman Jr. money line. I love Brian Norman Jr. money line. Minus 110 on DK. Even money wherever you're going to get it. I just love it. Even money wherever you're going to get it. My sneaky bet of the weekend that I love, Brian Norman decision plus 300 ESPN bet. Absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. Breaking. Canelo's pursuing a rematch. Breaking news from my boy Marlon Prince. Canelo's pursuing a rematch with Crawford. Both fighters will be smart to take that. Big money fight. Winnable fight for both fighters. I still think it's a winnable fight for Canelo. I really do if he makes a few tweaks to his game plan, stops trying to fight with his foot on the inside.
You can never count Canelo out. Yeah, I mean, that's going to be a close fight every time.
And plus the money would be in a trilogy too as well. So, there would be real money in a trilogy. So really quickly, just so you know, M80 Mang and all other commenters, I'm going to get to your comments. Let me just run through my favorite 5 bets of the weekend, and then we'll wrap up the show, y'all. So my least confident bet, but I still love it, kind of leans into what you said. I like Arman Tsarukyan by submission. I think it's his best and smartest path to victory, plus 360 on FanDuel. My second most confident bet, which I don't know, man, it's getting more confidence as I'm sitting here thinking on it. Jack Hermanson, plus 210 over Oral By, and a sneaky takedown at plus 130 on FanDuel. I love that. Plus 210, Jack Hermanson, ESPN bet. I think he has multiple ways of victory, especially pop shotting on the back foot. And I think when Oral By starts to slow down, he gets a takedown in the third round to cement a 29-28 victory.
Yeah.
My third most confident bet, Brian Norman Jr. money line, sneaky bet, like I said, ESPN bet, decision, plus 300. Now, my two most confident bets of the weekend, I think you actually can parlay all three of these legs, the violence parlay, as I call it. Francisco Barone, KO, TKO, DQ, plus 150 on ESPN bet. I love him to get it done versus Romain Villa, who I think's wash. And shout out to my boy Luis, who also says he doesn't think his boy Romain Villa looks in the greatest of spirits. And my favorite parlay of the weekend is a two-legger. Bam by stoppage, Benavidez by stoppage. I'm not overthinking this one. Yard's going to wilt. Benavidez is going to go through the gears. And then you're going to have Puma's going to meet Bam in the middle and eventually get beat up, and a towel will come in eventually. Those are my favorite plays. Love all those plays here for you. Now we can get into the comment section and start chopping it up. Do you think Mason Abdullah will slow down if he faces resistance against Noakes, if he bangs it out regardless, or what happens? I mean, Mason loves to go to war. He's willing to trade, but so did Sam Noakes. A little bit more willing to fight on the back foot, in my opinion. I'm really curious on this end, though, is how does Mason's cardio look past 8? That's what I'm curious about. Does he take the first 3 rounds slow? Does he come out hot and piston-like he does early often? These are all questions that I have. What do you think about that?
I'm curious to see what they're going to look like physically when they step in the ring. You know, when you watch the tape on Sam Noakes, looks like a very big, strong fighter. And as that goes late, he starts to lean on Abdullah a little bit, makes him fight in the inside, makes him uncomfortable. I could see that happening. I mean, I think at face value, I think a lot of people, you know, especially in the States, have watched Abdullah Mason fight at this point. They have seen the flashy knockouts. I don't think a lot of people have watched Sam Noakes fight. And it's really easy to look at that fight and just say, 100%. Yeah, Abdullah's going to knock him out. But I think that almost feels like a trap this weekend that a lot of people are getting caught into.
I'm telling you guys, Sam Noakes' inside fighting is polished. Polished inside fighter, man. How y'all feel about Bilal and Gary? I feel like Gary going to win. I agree. I think Gary's anti-grappling super solid. I think his athleticism is solid, and I think on the feet, the fight's not close. But Gary is solo volume, and Bilal is high volume. I know the JDM fight didn't show that, but go back to every single fight before that. I've been on the train that Bilal's on steroids. I'll scream it to the heavens. Bilal's on juice. Bilal,
nobody makes that big a physical transformation.
Dude, thank you.
They're 35 years old. It's
search
crazy.
Bilal on my Twitter, and you will see, bro, his physical transformation, his head got bigger. His cardio just randomly became 5-round Marab level cardio. Get the fuck out of here, bro. The juice Bilal makes any fight going to be a little bit difficult. I think pound for pound skill wise, Gary should clear this fight. I mean, if Gary was smart, he could even stop him if he threw knees up the middle. If Gary threw the knees up the middle that we used to see him throw, he could stop Bilal, catch him something up the middle. But Gary is just, he's kind of a negative fighter, no? Like, Gary's just a little bit of a negative fighter, man. It's kind of hard to watch some of his fights just because he is so damn negative. So
I think from a physical standpoint, you know, that he's disadvantaged, you know, in a lot of ways. I don't think has a lot of power in his strikes. I don't think he's very powerful when in the grappling scenarios. I think Ian Gary has an excellent fight IQ. He's going to fight the right fight that he needs to beat Bilal, but I think he has durability issues. Granted, we haven't seen it really. We've seen him hurt by much lesser fighters. I don't know if Bilal is able to pull that out, but I think Ian Gary was the side that if you got him at minus 170 a couple weeks ago, maybe, but I think it's approaching minus 240, minus 250, prices like that now. And, you know, like you said, it's Bilal somewhere along the way made a physical transformation that, you know, we've never seen before. I mean, I still remember when he was struggling to take down, what was Douglas Lima's brother's name? Diego Lima with an H after the D. Yeah. He was struggling to take him down at one point. And then all of a sudden he's, you know, winning all these fights and then challenging for a belt and looks like a brand new fighter. So I don't know. That one, it's kind of priced out for me. I'm probably going to stay away. Probably goes to the cards. I could see it being a 29-28 either way. Maybe Gary snipes him on the feet. I don't know. But Bilal's been historically durable, and he can push the a pace for 3 rounds with anybody in the world. I think I want to say Khabib even said one time when talking about Bilal Muhammad was that to beat Bilal, you almost have to stop him because he's going to go. And that's somebody who's been in the training room with him. So I don't know. That's a tough call.
It's a tough fight because what version of Bilal do we get? Is he actually going to spam takedowns? And if he does, it's a winnable fight. Hans History Vote. I don't want to call this a lock, but I'm very high on this guy, Cole Alexnian, for LFA this weekend. He's fighting Trevor Tremblay, who, in my opinion, has holes in his game, both grappling and striking wise. I don't think he's fought in anyone. I don't think either of them have fought in great competition, but Cole has a little bit of better competition. I like the gym Cole trains out of too as well. Give me Cole, LFA, plus 215. I really like this fight, man. I think it's a underrated play here. So if you want to take a stab at it, Hans History Vote, plus 215, LFA, Cole Alexnian. Just one thing to note, because I know you wanted a little sneaky bet here for you, my brother. So we got a few comments. Shout out to everybody. Manel Kopp is the GOAT. He's a frustrating ass fighter. Is that not fair to say? Has all the tools to put together, but just has way too many negative lulls. I mean,
he doesn't do enough sometimes.
Look at the
only negative trait.
The Mohammed Makayev. Thank you. I'm horrible with names. Anyone that follows my channel knows how shitty I am with names. Dude, come on now. Ian Gary, Devin Haney money line. Gonna have to disagree with you on the Devin Haney money line, brother. And that is not a bias. I don't hate Haney. You will know I'm one of the most unbiased I like to think I'm pretty unbiased when I break down fights. I don't know, man. I just think Brian Norman, athletic prime in his peak, a lot of tools that he has can beat Haney. Luis, how would I go into this? I'm going to be honest with you, bro. I would take that whole 30, and I know it's your boy. I would put that whole 30 on Verone to get it done by knockout at plus money. So what that 30 would do is that even if you got it at plus 140, that would turn your bankroll to from $30 to about $66. I would turn around and roll that into one of two ways. If you have live betting options, this is if you have live betting options, what you would do is take that $66 and watch the Mason Abdullah fight and Sam Noakes fight and try to watch a clear read on who you think is going to win and if that fight could possibly go to decision. Because you will get plus money on fight to go the distance or even your boy Mason by decision or maybe even Sam Noakes by decision at great money. So keep an eye on that line. Not saying anything to hammer, but keep an eye on it. And if there's a bet you like within that, you can live bet that $66. If you feel more comfortable with trying to find a lock, you take that $66 and you lock in Bam and Benavidez knockout. That will be at plus money, and you'll have just turned $30 into about $130 right there. And I really, really think that's a good play. Then what you do is you pull out 80 of that and you keep 50 of it for your bankroll and you build from there, brother. That's exactly how I would play it. $30 onto Verone. You take that winning, you turn it over into either a live bet on Nason Noakes or you put it on Benavidez Bam knockout, and then you pull out good amount of winnings from there and you build a bankroll from there. That's exactly how I'd play that $30 personally. In terms of unit size, got to risk a bit. I mean, me personally, man, my units are $50. I'm a $50 unit better. I will always be honest about that. Next year, I'll be moving my units up to $100 just because it's been a really good year for me. But I'm waiting till January 1st to do so. I don't want to switch up my units and my picket numbers now. So I'm going to wait for January 1st and I'm going to be upping my units to $100. But that's only because, thank you, God, I've had this is my first year as a successful gambler. Let's just say that. I've been trying to learn this game for quite some time. So, that's my thoughts. Bilal, least obvious juicer. Easily, bro. Anyone with eyes knows Bilal is juicing, man.
It's dude, it's so weird because it's like I don't want to make accusations, but even when you see somebody like Islam Makhachev, this is a guy who's on the other side of he might be close to 35 at this point. Like he's getting close, I think, but he's somebody who suddenly looks like a huge welterweight and was fighting at 155 pounds. I don't want to point the finger, but it's
I'll point the finger, bro. Go look at his back against Drew Dober when he squeezed out Drew Dober. You're telling me that's not a steroid back? You're telling me
I know exactly what you're talking about too, and that he looks crazy there.
You saw every muscle fiber
than everybody.
Every muscle fiber in his body, dude. Every fighter is a shredded beast tank. That's different, bro. His back was literally, you saw the muscle fibers shredding, bro. It was insane. Absolutely insane. You're telling me that man's not juiced? Hey, unfortunately, I will be the whistleblower and make the accusations, unfortunately. So I'll do that for you if you need me to.
It's a weird thing, man, because it's
Keys, I agree with that 100%, by the way. I think Riley gets it done actually around 2. I think you can play both round 2 or round 3 at good money. So goodish money.
I was looking at that fight a lot. I'm assuming he's talking about Luke Riley versus Bogdan Grad for the UFC card.
Yeah, the only thing is, as we saw, Bogdan is a dog. Remember, the Aswell is one of my – that fight was just –
I was watching that fight, yeah. And, something with Luke Riley to me that stands out is in all of these fights, he's able to fight at the pace that he wants it to be at. He's fighting on the front foot, and he's throwing combos and he's getting out of range. And I think Bogdan Grad's going to be one of the first people he's fought that is not going to let him fight that kind of fight. Might get knocked out in the process. I think Bogdan Grad eats a pretty good shot. Physically, I think there's a difference between him and a lot of Lucas Riley's opponents. I'm not very high on Cage Warriors when it comes to a regional promotion. You have some good guys, you have Paul Hughes and you have who's Conor McGregor, Ian Gary. You have guys.
Oh, you just saw that one dude. He was the brother of the other guy that just got his legs chopped to shit on the
Harry
short
Hardwick. I mean,
thank you. And then even George Hardwick, his brother, is underwhelming as shit.
One of the Hardwick brothers. I think it was Harry Hardwick.
It was Harry because George is the bigger brother. Mixing up. Kiza, don't toast me for this, Kiza. I'm sorry. It's my double American brain, brother.
But I think that, for every, there's a McGregor, there's a Paul Hughes, there's a guy like that here and there, but then there's the Harry Hardwick, or there's the Jordan Vucenics that you get out of Cage Warriors. And I think that this is a big step up in competition for Luke Riley. I think at the UFC level, there's not a Bogdan Grad who's in Cage Warriors just, fighting in the ranks there. This is a tough matchup for him. And I'm curious to see how his power transfers over, to the UFC.
Oh, Loner. That's the other one. Loner, bro. Loner Kavanaugh. I remember I actually tweeted. So I gave this out as a free Twitter play. Was Loner Charles Johnson not to go the distance at plus money? It's very proud of that. Very proud of that play. And I also took Charles Johnson money line. So that play smoked.
And see, he's one I thought it was.
And Loner just got caught slipping. He literally ran into a punch like this.
Yeah.
It was crazy. He just got caught slipping. Like, Loner's a way more defensively responsible and guard savvy than that, it seems like, but he just ran into a punch. It was absolutely insane. So
that's what I thought too. But I think that I think this is a tough debut matchup for Luke Riley. I know.
Thinking about it, I think you may have, because Grad, his bald ass is going to come into the pocket, throwing punches. He's just at a severe speed disadvantage in this fight, like severe. Grad's slow as shit, but he's like slow in the way Darren Elkins is slow, to where he just kind of sticks to you. He's just sticky. Doesn't matter how slow he is, how plotting and annoying he is. He's just going to be on your shit and beating you up. So I don't know, man. Maybe Grad at 2-1 is maybe the play.
When I'm researching that one, I was trying to find a way to get to it, and that's exactly what I was going to say. Is the last opponent that Luke Riley fought, it was Kastelov, I think was the guy's name. I was going to say something different. I remember it ended in an OV. If you're struggling, and again, I didn't think that guy was very good from watching that fight, and kind of folded at the end. He's not knocking guys out with one shot. It's kind of, that guy Kastelov, it's in that fight, he struggled to take Luke Riley down. I think got him down a couple of times, which is a horrible look, I think. And, and then once the takedowns weren't working, once he couldn't cage push him anymore, he just got overwhelmed by strikes. And I don't think that's not going to happen to a guy like Bogdan. He's not going to have his plan A, and plan A doesn't work, and then he's getting TKO'd. I don't see that happening, because he's a guy who I think can take a good shot, has power in his hands, and I think he's got a grappling threat that could give Riley issues, especially because I don't think Riley's used to fighting at the UFC pace. The tempo of his fights generally tends to be lower in Cage Warriors, and I could see Bogdan making it uncomfortable for him. That being said, Bogdan's so hittable that he might just get starched, and I look like an idiot for talking about it this long, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm curious to see what happens there. I don't think Lucas Riley's going to go too far in the UFC, though, so we'll see.
Just so you know, I agree, man. I have a hard time thinking of any Cage Warriors guys. I'm just not a fan of Cage Warriors. Their matchmaking is so selective. I mean, look at you have guys fighting literal guys with losing records that they're hyping up. It just makes no sense. It doesn't have the Shuganov fight. I was actually looking at BoxRec looking at this one. I've only seen Johanna fight once, and I haven't cracked any tape on Shuganov as of lately. But Shuganov, if I am remembering, a little bit slower of a pace, not so high volume, fought on that Filipino regional scene, and Johanna's never been stopped. Tough ass Ghanan, tough ass African man. Probably Shuganov by decision, I'm assuming. What are the lines on it, Hans History Bowl? Do you have Shuganov by decision, and what is the line on that one too? Abasab. Yeah, that's what it was actually. It was Abasab. That dude's from he has like the green and red flag. Fuck, what is that Abasab dude from? I'm having a mind block too as well. Tariel Abasab. Where is that cat from? Isn't he like Azerbaijan or something like that? Where Naimov's from, right? Azerbaijan, where they fill up stadiums to watch their fighters. Such badass country, man.
Yeah, Abasov. That's what I thought the guy's name was, and I think he was talking about Riley's last opponent.
Brother, you're getting Verone at plus 275. Dude, smack. No. Put the whole right now. Trust. Plus, bro, you are getting it at over $1.25 better than any book in the United States. Every book in the United States has Barone plus 140 across the board and plus 150 on ESPN Bet. Smash that shit. I just had my wisdom teeth removed. This is the first time I felt pain since that. I just cracked my teeth together. That felt crazy.
Oh, dude. I got mine out a few years ago, and it's I was always so scared I was going to get, what do they call them? The dry
socket.
Back. Dude, it's such an annoying feeling because they tell you to not go work out. And they tell you to
not to work out. Don't drink hot coffee. Don't smoke any weed, which I understand that part. But it's like, dude, I mean, it's healing pretty well. But at
the same time, it's like everything else with you is fine. You feel like you could go for a run or go do something. But it's like, yeah, don't exercise because of your wisdom teeth.
It's fucking insane. I'm just happy that I'm able to talk a little bit more, man. I've been wanting to jump on it live. Grad getting pieced up might be biased. In terms of range, Luke Riley should piece up Grad, but if Grad gets on the inside, man, it's going to be an issue, man. It's going to be an issue. Yeah, that line is way off. Minus 600, that line is way off. Versus a dude that's never been stopped. And Shuganov's only fought in the Filipino level at the Filipino domestic level. So I don't understand that line. Fuck, that is insane, man.
One of the UFC fights we didn't talk about. This is one of the ones I'm looking forward to most on the card. I don't have a bet on it right now. Super high level fight. Tagir Ulanbekov versus Kyoji Horiguchi. For the people who are really hardcore fans, that's a great fight stylistically. Horiguchi, I mean, he's been the best. He hasn't really even been fighting at flyweight outside the UFC. He's a small guy and he's been fighting 135 pounders, but I'm curious to see what he can do back in the UFC, but I don't know why they're giving him the most brutal stylistic matchup ever in a very tall flyweight in Ulanbekov. Have you looked at that one at all?
Yeah, so I think this is actually interesting, right? Because Ulanbekov has good cardio. Not great cardio, but good cardio. He's sticky as shit, and he shoots those long, low singles, right? And Horiguchi, as we've seen, gotten his back taken multiple times. Patchy Mix. And Patchy Mix, one of the best back takers on planet Earth, regardless how everything is now between them. He's still one of the best back takers on planet Earth.
Took his back standing, I think. It was, you know, they have Horiguchi listed at 5'5", and I saw they had Mix listed at 5'7" or 5'8". There's absolutely no way. He's 5'2" or 5'3" at best.
Yeah, and Patchy Mix was like a country mile bigger than him in that case. I'm going to be honest here with you, man. I want Horiguchi to win, but I just think it's going to Qatar where you're going to have to battle the judges for Ulanbekov. This fight goes to a decision at a very high clip, in my opinion. And Horiguchi getting older, and he's never been the most high-volume striker. Unfortunately, I think it's going to go Tagir's way. And I was really impressed by Tagir's win over Clayton Carpenter. And again, another Arizona boy. And Clayton Carpenter, I think, is super solid all the way around here. So I was just impressed by that one, to be completely honest with you. And I think that it does lean me towards Tagir over it does lean me towards Tagir. Kiza. I like Shamrock. I can't believe we didn't bring this one up. I like Shamrock for the upset. I think Nurvaev or Alivayev or whatever his name is, Never been high on old Wonder Boy or what's his nickname? The Superboy, Wonder Boy, Austrian Superboy, Wonder Boy. I don't know. Never been high on him. Gas bag cardio. He looked good in his return to the UFC. I will say that. But this dude's a mush, brother. And Shamrock can crack. He can anti-grapple, and he has good volume. Shamrock at 2-1, and the line's moving in.
Wait. He's going against Aliev, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I'm just making sure I had that right.
I was like, I want to make sure I'm also not mixing up because
Wait,
who
are you saying is his nickname like the Australian Superboy?
No, I actually am mixing up. I'm mixing up the Austrian on this fighter too. I mixed up names right now, nicknames on these dudes because
I don't know who that is. I don't know who has that nickname.
No, it's what's his name? Ismail Nurdiev, I believe it is. I'll look him up right now. I'm killing these names right now. Austrian.
That one feels like a trap too.
And the line actually says that it's almost an even money trap.
Yeah.
That is what's his name? What's it called?
Ismail Nardiev.
Yep, that was the kid that they used to call him like, someone tell me if I'm wrong or two as well. I could be wrong, mixing up like something like the Austrian Superboy. Am I mixing him up with some
I'm thinking when you said, I think of the Korean Superboy, Doo-Ho Choi.
Yeah, Doo-Ho Choi.
To mind with that. I don't know who else has that in there though.
Yeah, before I keep making myself look foolish, I'm just going to move on from that one. I'm just going to move on. But I like Shamrock. Tape-wise, I like Shamrock. Aliev is a mush, in my opinion, this week, and I like Shamrock to get it done.
He's not dangerous. He doesn't, in his fight against Joe Selecki, I mean,
he got his back taken in the third round, reversed and taken it, or was it mounted? He got mounted in the third round, reversed and mounted in the third round, dude. And Joe Selecki, man, gas bag grappler. A gas bag grappler. You're letting him do that in the third round to you?
Yeah, I mean, that was a favorable matchup, I thought, for Aliev, where it's like, that's one where he should be able to look good, maybe even get a finish. But, yeah, I don't know. I think he is probably the mush of the week this week. So
I agree. Mush of the week, mate. Tajik Eagle. What am I missing here when you're saying Tajik Eagle? Am I missing a name or something?
When he says Tajik Eagle, I'm thinking that's a fighter who,
who's the
what's that guy's name? I don't think the Tajik Eagle's on this card. I want to say that's like Rajabov or something like that. One of those.
Oh, guys. No. That's Aliev. That's who he's talking about is Aliev. That's his nickname. Yeah. I've never been good with nicknames. It's like something I've always been bad with. Thank you. My bad, MMA. He already answered it for us. I was like, Tajik Eagle, huh? But yeah, man, I mean, I think we've given a lot of good bets, a lot of good content. We are going to wrap this up, y'all. We literally said we were going to do this for 45 minutes to an hour, and holy hell, we're almost 2 hours in, man. So do you guys have any wrapping up comments? Drop them in the comment section below. We'll keep this going for another 3 to 5 minutes because I know my man Sam has a whole life. It's funny as I'm ignoring calls left and right, which is pretty funny. But good thing my phone's always on Do Not Disturb, so it works out. But any closing comments, any closing thoughts? And before you guys get out of here, if you could like the video, I would much appreciate that. Help the algorithm. And as well, we would love to have you back, Sam. I would love to chop it up with you again for another big combat sports weekend, man. You're really educated. You're clearly cracked the tape. You're actually in combat sports yourself. All these things equal to a great conversation, man. So I really do appreciate you. Ooh, Hands History Bowl. Let's talk about this. I was talking to Chilltown TJ today, actually. Watch Numon's fight against his last fighter, Zoptop. He gets dropped in the second round, hurt in the 10th round. And then you watch his other fight here. I'm going to just pull up my messages with TJ. You watch the other 10-round fight that he went to where you literally stuck on the back foot for the last 3 rounds of the fight, slowed down horrendously. I was watching and looking at that pretty undefeated record, hoping that Vito would have an upset alert in this case. I think Vito's going to crack him with a left hook. I think Vito actually is going to stop this guy. I mean, I'm not very high on Vito, but this is a perfect stylistic matchup. Look at this photo, actually. Actually, I have this saved in my photos. This is funny as hell. This is funny. This is a still image photo I took of Nomama. Look at that defense. That is Nomama when he gets dropped in the second round against a can, an absolute can. So, yeah, man. I really like Malecki, unfortunately, to get it done because I don't like Vito. I'm not huge on Vito. I'm not huge on his skills, unfortunately. But the inaugural TKO champ, Vito Milanecki, will get it done by stoppage. Eubank Wagner, I think the size disadvantage for Eubank will be interesting and how low volume Eubank is. I'm going to take a dog shot on Wagner, even though I don't think Wagner is the more skilled fighter. So I'm going to take a dog shot at Wagner on 3-1 odds. So, Sam, do you have any closing thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man, I appreciate you having me on. I was honestly a little bit nervous. I've never done anything like this with a live stream, but yeah, I mean, I try to keep up with, I watch One Championship with everything they have, the grappling, striking, MMA, of course, most of the major MMA promotions. And I'm still a relatively newer boxing fan, beyond just a Canelo card or a McGregor versus Floyd and the mainstream ones like that. I've really gotten more into it lately. My depth of knowledge probably doesn't, it doesn't hold a candle to yours. And some of these fights I'm not really able to speak to, but yeah, I think, like we were talking about a little bit earlier, it's my love for MMA, that's really got me into boxing as well. And yeah, man, it's they're both fun sports. I think this is a good time to be a fan, but yeah, man, I had a lot of fun chopping it up with you and talking about the fights this weekend. I think we're in for a good one.
We're definitely in for a great weekend. You're free to join anytime you want, man. Never be nervous, man. People in my chat are always chill. They're always cool. I literally think the boxing community is, when you get past everybody on the racial end is everything, it's really one of the best communities there is, man. I really think the boxing community, the real sharps in the community, the best community there is, man. You just got to get past all the fight fans and all the people that look to pick fights for racial reasons and things of that nature, man. So when it comes to that, man,
a lot of that, that's weird.
Well, you're seeing a lot of that. You see a lot of that when it comes to the Black American versus Mexican rivalry, right? Like I was watching the press conference for DAZN this morning, and the comment section was literally just race baiting up the wazoo. It was absolutely insane. It's like, guys, can't we just appreciate fighters for fighters? And I'm okay with everybody having pride. I mean, everyone should have pride for who they are and things of that nature. But guys, not everything needs to turn into it, man. Like tapes, X's and O's. So, and I want to answer my boy Mar the Prince, because we did talk about Waldo Acosta, but let's really quickly touch on that. Waldo Acosta could win with a low kick and a jab. He could keep it as simple as possible. Jab his way to a victory. Low kick to a victory. Simple as it comes, straight up. The issue is I have here is, guys, he's flying across the world on 3 days. He's flying from Arizona to Qatar on 3 days' notice. How's his cardio going to look? He is someone that's always training relatively in shape. I'm just curious how there will be no weight cut since they're heavyweights. There's just a lot of factors that at a minus 142 price tag makes me want to stay away from Waldo Acosta, just because he could get taken down early. And if he gets taken down early or cracked early, that's when you live bet him, Mar. Live bet him at that point, Mar, because you will have some live equity in that case. And I think if it comes to cardio, pound for pound cardio, I still think Waldo Acosta has better cardio. At heavyweights, I still think he has the better cardio, mate. So that's just
I thought Spivak was a tougher matchup for Gaziv than Acosta was, because Spivak's a guy who he's won a giant. I think his nickname's the Polar Bear.
The Polar Bear, yep.
And
chain wrestler.
On top, that's rough for any heavyweight. And it's yeah, Acosta, I think he's probably in good shape because he just fought pretty recently. But I mean, on the feet, I could see him getting hit with something big that wobbles him. I could see it the other way too. Acosta didn't look great versus D'Elia up until he basically got stopped with the eye poke, and then they restarted. And after that adrenaline dump, I mean, what do you do there? I mean, the fight was over. You were already celebrating. So
yeah, adrenaline dumps are like the one thing that no one ever talks about.
But yeah, I probably wouldn't find my way to a bet on Acosta, especially considering it's in Qatar. And if you want to talk about race, anything racial, I think that there are a lot of Muslim fighters that tend to get weird decisions on a lot of these cards.
Well, that's not
just an observation,
Well, that's undeniable. Is when you go to the Middle East and Middle East portions of the world, they're always going to go towards your Middle Eastern kind of fighters. That's just something that we see, far too often, unfortunately. Eligos, what up, brother?
The total is on that fight, because I feel like that goes the distance at a pretty high clip.
I think it goes to the decision a very high clip. I think you're going to have a possibility for a Waldo live line. I think that's really kind of how I look and play to it. Eligos, I'm going to do a super speed run for you on what you missed, because we have repeated it like 4 times. So let me super speed run for you for this, brother, because I know you're big on boxing. So I don't think you want the MMA stuff, so I'll just give you the boxing stuff. I like Brian Norman Jr. money line. I like Brian Norman Jr. decision. My boy Sam loves David Benavidez by knockout. I love Bam and David Benavidez parlay by knockout. I'm taking a dog shot on Carlos Cuadras. I'm taking a dog shot on Wagner over Eubank. Oh, of course, one of my favorite plays of the weekend. Francisco Barone by TKO KO over Romain Villa. Love Barone over Romain Villa by stoppage. Love it, love it, love it, Aligos. So again, Barone, TKO over Villa. Benavidez, bam, knockout parlay. Sam likes Benavidez inside the distance. Little extra money on 7 through 12. Brian Norman Jr. money line. Brian Norman Jr. decision. If you want the MMA bets, Armand by sub, Armand inside the distance over Dan Hooker, and Jack Hermanson plus 210 at ESPN bet. So that was the quick run through. This will be the last one I answer, y'all, just because I actually do have to get out of here now at this point.
I think they're trolling you at this point. They know we're about to hop off.
Nah, I just love these dudes, man. I just appreciate that they're even here to chop it up with me, man. Genuinely.
I'm typically one of the people in the comment section sending something like this. So it's cool to be on the other side.
Man, I'd love to have you on anytime. All right, so Vuong Nguyen, the first fight was a little bit weird, a little bit icky. A lot of people were complaining that, Vuong, I think at one point, Nguyen was touted, man. He was solid. But I just think Vuong's building fight over fight. I think his inside fighting game's a little bit better in this case here. And I think he's built better from their first fight. So I would pick Vuong to win that fight, but I wouldn't bet it. There's no way I would bet Vuong or Cameron or at, what is it, minus 300 right now? Not a chance in hell, champ. Not a chance as hell. So, hey, well, I appreciate all y'all. Sam, you have any last remarks? Do you want to plug anything before you get out of here?
I mean, honestly, I don't really have anything to plug. Follow me on Twitter at BigSam_MMA. But yeah, other than that, that's it. I'll probably be giving more of my thoughts on UFC and boxing card as we go. I'll probably, if there's any other bets that I add, I'll probably tweet them out there. But yeah, last weekend was a really good weekend for me. One that I actually tweeted out was that I was going to take Michael Morales to win by round 1 stoppage against Sean. So that was a banger
call.
That was
what a banger call.
That was my highlight of the week. I thought that one was a can't miss spot plus money on the best raw athlete in the entire UFC.
That was and I think Michael Morales is a real title contender. I think he's a real title contender.
I don't even think that guy's at his best yet. He's going to keep getting better.
I couldn't agree more, man. And those Ecuadorians just have hella good genes. Great genes for fighting, man. They're natural fighters.
One of the few guys.
Yeah,
one of the few guys that be an Olympic level athlete in whatever sport he chose. You don't get a lot of that in MMA. They don't get paid as much.
Yep. So,
but anyways,
you're the man, Sam. Everybody that was on the stream, I appreciate you guys. Again, feel free to like the video if you can. If you didn't like the video, don't like it. You don't have to. But with that being said, guys, as I always leave you guys with, it's love, it's peace, it's chicken grease. I'll see y'all next time.
See you guys.